Welcome to 411 Now's Halloween special. I will be your host tonight, Jack Frost. Let's get into it. Live in the eastern part of Oregon State, and my mom lives in western Oregon. I went to visit her for the summer, and she's very outdoorsy. So we decided to take a 1 hour drive from her city to the coast. We ended up at a free campsite at the top of a hill, a huge foothill along the coastal mountains, about 25-minute drive from the top where the campsite is the bottom where the main road was. And we were there and enjoying our weekend. We were one of only a few campers at the campsite. We relaxed for the rest of the day, made food, etc., told stories, and just got to know each other and catch up with time that has passed. A truck full of men suddenly pulled up the hill and talked to my mom. I don't know what it was about. It wasn't suspicious at the time, and they left accordingly and said goodbye as they left. Fast forward to the middle of the night. I wake up to my mom sitting straight up in the tent. I wake easy, so it was easy to hear her gasp as it woke me. As soon as I saw her, I was awake, and it was just before I was about to say something, she placed her hand over my mouth. I was starting to ask her what was wrong. It was the dead silence of the night. You couldn't hear a cricket, nothing at all. And then suddenly, I hear footsteps outside the tent. The moonlight that was casting through the tent that night was suddenly blocked off, and the moonlight was gone. Right beside the tent, you heard the flap near the zippers as it was moving. Thankfully, my mom was quick, and she said very loudly, "Kenny, grab the gun." Kenny is my dad. Although he doesn't really matter to this story, he wasn't there. And mind you, just as it was just us two girls getting to know each other and catching up for time. They left. Whoever they were, they left. No harm was done. And thank Lord for my mom and her quick thinking. What would have happened if she wouldn't have said, "Kenny, grab the gun"? Years ago, my mom started dating a guy she had met online on a dating site. That part was fine. I had recently started dating a woman who I would later marry. I met her online. Everything seemed all right. Anyways, my wife and I never really liked this guy that my mother was dating. He just seemed creepy to us. We didn't think he was mean or anything like that, or violent, or have any real issues. He was just creepy, very quiet, and did some really bizarre, strange activities throughout the day. He kept to himself, quiet, and he kept his eyes closed a lot. And occasionally he would say things like offering my wife or myself a piece of chocolate and then popping the piece of chocolate into his mouth and closing his eyes and moaning as he felt it melt in his mouth. One time my wife and I were visiting my mom, but she got called into work, so we waited at her house. Her boyfriend was over, but he spent the entire time in her bedroom, hanging out with the door closed. And we could hear every once in a while a moaning, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, mm-hmm," and other strange moaning like that. Just before Christmas, my mom and this guy started having some serious difficulties in their relationship. My mom and I were visiting my sisters and others for the holidays, and she had just dropped all her problems on us during a conversation. And we listened carefully and told her our opinions and suggested that she would be better off without him. She had already made up her mind beforehand, and decided to break up with him on all days, Christmas Eve. We spent the night at my mom's and got up early on Christmas morning to visit my dad at his house and other family members who were gathering there for a Christmas dinner. We didn't plan on spending the night at my dad's, but as the weather had turned, we got snowed in, and it was actually a really nice Christmas surprise. The next day, as we left as soon as we could get through the snow, my wife suggested that we stop by mom's home and make sure that she, had arrived, home from work the previous night safely. When we got there, we realized that mom's car was in the driveway, and which wasn't anything out of the ordinary because mom often walked to work, which her job was less than a half a block away. As I said, we've seen mom's car sitting in the driveway, but that didn't mean anything to us as she worked close enough, like I said. She also never locks the door to her home, which absolutely drives me nuts. I told her, in this day and age, you have to lock the doors to your home and your car. We let ourselves into the home, and that's when we discovered what looked like blood oozing out of the refrigerator's water dispenser. It had filled the spill container and was leaking out down the front of the white refrigerator into a pool on the floor in front of the refrigerator. A quite sizable pool, I might add. My wife screamed and I freaked out. I fully expected to open the refrigerator door and find my mom's decapitated head sitting on the shelf. What has happened? What could we have done to stop this? I nervously opened the freezer to find a bag of frozen cherries had been opened and crammed into the refrigerator that my mother had intended on using to make a pie. And they had leaked out all over the door and filled the ice cube container and drained out through the ice and water dispenser. Just a decapitated head was going to be in that refrigerator. Lucky, mom wasn't. Her ex-creepy boyfriend just went away. Four years ago, I lived in a very large farmhouse that used to be a boys' home that had been converted into two separate apartments. The house was known as the Old Boys' Home. It was used for boys with behavioral issues that had been closed due to allegations of molestation and abuse. I was living with my boyfriend and 3-year-old daughter at the time in this two apartment conversion. During one of the days, a normal weekend, I was doing some spring cleaning in the apartment and decided to move the furniture over to one side of the room. On one side of the room was a large fireplace that had been since closed off, concreted, and painted over. I moved the bed over to that side along with some dressers as I cleaned the floor and cleaned up all the debris and stuff that my daughter had thrown or lost behind the furniture. A typical day, spring cleaning. But I was too tired to push everything back that night and decided I would do it the next day. In the middle of the night, I heard a voice yell to me in my sleep, "Mom! Mom! Mommy!" And I sat up in bed but didn't see anything, so I reached over to my boyfriend trying to grab my daughter to put her in the bed. I kept feeling around and was still hearing the voice, but I couldn't find or feel anything. My boyfriend woke up at the time and turned to me and turned on the lamp and asked, "What the hell are you doing?" I explained, "My daughter, Emile, she's trying to get into bed with us, and I was reaching for her." "There's nobody there," he said. "There's nobody here. What made you think that she was here?" I heard her. I heard her. I swear I heard her say, "Mommy, mom, mom, mommy." And I was searching for her in the dark. I was trying not to wake you. There's nobody here. As I quickly climbed out of bed and walked to my daughter's room, she was sound asleep in bed. Not, not a whisper could be heard anywhere else in the home. Nothing. My boyfriend crawled back into bed, rolling his eyes and saying, "Al, it must have been a hell of a dream you were having." I sat back down on the bed, contemplating what I'd heard, and chalked it up as a memory that I would have was left over from a dream. I don't remember the rest of the dream, but it scared me. It scared me deeply. So I fell back to sleep. But as I was starting to drift off, I felt my boyfriend get back up out of bed. Maybe he heard something as I woke up. The night light was off and the lamp was off in the room. As I laid there with my back to him, thinking about what the dream could have been about, that made me think and hear, "Mom, mommy, mommy." I felt an impression back on the bed. The warmth you feel as someone gets back into bed and curls up next to you. Well, my boyfriend's back in bed. I felt the relaxing, the pressure, but then the pressure left the bed again. And I reached over. There's nobody there. I quickly flipped on the light on my nightstand, and he was nowhere in the room. There was no way for him to have left the room by now. Where did he go? Where is he? As I left the room and walked down the hall to my daughter's bedroom and opened the door, there she is, asleep in her bed like she was before. Nothing disturbed in the room, nothing disturbed in the house. But where had my boyfriend gone? Where was he now? I looked around, searched the home, and as I was starting to contemplate if I was losing my mind completely, if everything that I had just made up, maybe it was all a dream, I heard the key enter the door, lock, and my boyfriend walked in. He had just been arriving home from work. He was never in bed with me. He never had been there. I had dreamt the entire thing. My mind had made up this entire conversation of him being there in bed next to me. I'm losing it, I thought. I'm absolutely losing it. Is my daughter in her bed? Oh my God. As I ran down the hallway to her, I rushed in, flung the door open, and there she is, asleep, relaxed. Next morning, as I told him of the dream and the events of the night before, he felt deeply concerned for me, but said, "You must have dreamt it all." For another 2 years, nothing else ever happened. Nothing has happened since that one scary night. I currently live in a haunted home. Yes, a lot of people have doubted me that I live in a haunted home, saying that homes can't be haunted, that apparitions and ghosts and all of it are not real, that they're made up in your mind. None of it's real, they say. It's all been fake. Nothing has ever been proven. Well, I currently live in a haunted home, and I believe, and I know, I live in a haunted home. I've heard voices, footsteps, lights have come on, lights have gone off. One of the ghosts has a thing for silverware, and I hear it clattering in the drawer at all times of the day and night. And sometimes knives end up in wrong slots in the drawer. But the strangest, scariest experience I've ever had was the first night I spent in this home. I was finishing moving in, and there were boxes everywhere, and I didn't have my mattress up there yet. I was bedding on a futon mattress and watching videos on my phone when I get the pins and needles feeling, of your feet, but not of your feet falling asleep, but on my head. I said, "Good night." I turned off the lights and went to bed. When I woke up, my closet door was open and in the home was disturbed. I guess whoever or whatever it was just wanted to check me out. Other things have happened throughout the years that I've lived in this home. Pictures have been removed from the wall, not fallen from the wall and laid in disarray on the floor beneath where they hung, but have been removed from the wall, found on the couch or sofa or a chair nearby, several feet away. But here I am. I believe in ghosts. I know they're there. I've heard them. I've seen things move, but no one believes me yet. 30 hours ago, I hopped on a late night flight from New York head to Los Angeles. After boarding, I, I saw that I had an entire row to myself. Takeoff passed without incident. As soon as I stretched out to take a nap across the row, I slept for a few hours and don't know how long exactly. I woke up to severe turbulence. It's possible that the lights in the cabin went on or off or flickered at that moment, but I was so disoriented it was hard to say. I checked my phone to see what time it was. It was 4:03 a.m., which I figure gave me about an hour until we landed. When I looked out the window, I was shocked to see nothing but wide open ocean. My jaw dropped. I shouldn't be flying over the ocean at all. There's nothing between, here and there where there would be an ocean or a large body of water. What is going on? I thought to myself. There's obviously an ocean out there, and there's no ocean between New York and Los Angeles. I hit the call button for the flight attendant and spent the next few minutes racking my brain for a lake that could be possibly big enough to, and to explain what was going on and what I was seeing. I jumped when the flight attendant flipped the light off. She was grinning from ear to ear, and tears were pouring down her cheek. Why was she crying? Why? What is going on here? Are you okay? I said. "How-" And she replied back, "How can I help you, sir?" I froze for a moment at her reaction before deciding to just ask my question. Where are we? Why does it look like we're flying over the ocean? What is going on? She wiped her cheek clear of the tears, and still grinning widely, she said, "Sir, we'll be landing in about an hour." Uh, okay, thank you, but wait a minute. Why are we flying over the ocean? As she turned and walked away. After she left, I checked the clock on my phone again. It still read 4:03 a.m. I had to have been waiting, with the light call light on for at least 5 to 10 minutes. There's no way that it could still be 4:03. That's not possible. Why hadn't it changed? Why has time stopped? What's going on? Is my phone broken? So many things are going through my mind. I have no way of making sense of this. I opened my laptop and saw that it's two still displayed 4:03 a.m. I pulled my phone, started stopwatch in the app, and it spent the next 2 hours looking back at it, forth at it, between the clock and waiting for it to change, along with the time on my laptop. They never did. It stayed 4:03 a.m. I tapped the shoulder of an older woman sitting in the row ahead of me. She looked back and an annoyed expression across her face and said, "Yeah, what do you want?" I said, "Do you know how long until we land?" She narrowed her eyes and looked, and the flight attendant said it would be about an hour. I shook my head in confusion. The flight attendant? We talked almost about 2 hours ago. We should have landed already. She stared at me as if I was crazy. I was going to continue trying to convince her, but I felt a hand on my shoulder and spun around to see a male flight attendant staring at me and said, "Sir, you're going to have to calm down. Sit back down, sir. Sit down." "Sir, you're going to have to calm down," he repeated, "or I'm going to have to call the captain. Please don't cause the disturbance, sir." I told him that that would be necessary, and I sat back down, and he removed his hand from my shoulder. The flight attendant continued to stop by every few minutes, offering meals and stuff as my stopwatch continued to tick up and is now telling me that I've been on this plane for more than 30 hours. I've explored all the cabins, walked around, and talked to as many passengers as I can, and everyone has the same exact story. The flight attendant said, "It'll be an hour, sir." Around 3 hours ago, I tried getting into first class. I made it past the curtain, but was escorted by two smiling flight attendants who grinned, and just escorted me back to where I was with an iron grip upon my arm and shoulder. "Sir, the seatbelt sign is on. It reads, 'Clearly, sir, you must sit down and fasten your seatbelt. We'll be landing in about an hour.'" What is going on? I am so confused. How could this flight be taking so long? And how could come? I've been told it would be about an hour and we've still never landed. I just about given up hope when a woman walking down the aisle, dressed in a business suit, smiles at me and looks directly at me, making eye contact, not even watching where she's walking. And she drops a piece of paper on my tray as she made her way to the bathroom in the back of the plane. I shot a look back, and unscrolled the piece of paper she dropped. It said, "Are you stuck too?" I pulled out a pen and wrote, "Yes, it's been 30 hours," and waited for her to come back. She has to come back, which seemed like an eternity. Hours and hours later, still, she hasn't returned. How is this possible? What is going on? I folded the scrap of paper up and set it on the closest tray near the aisle so she could pick it up and see it as she walked by. And finally, hours later, she picked up the piece of paper and walked on without ever saying anything to me at all. It's been 20 minutes since then. I don't know why, but I don't think this flight attendant would like it if I knew what we were talking about. It doesn't matter. I have to do something. I'll update you later on if anything happens. Flight 403 crashed at 2:16 a.m. All passengers were lost. This passenger was on that same flight and saw that it was 4:03 a.m.